So you're saying the universe created a sitcom starring two Avengers?
It's a working theory.
Well, I have to say, we're very excited to talk to you. I think it's been a really interesting year on so many levels. Jack, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Go for it, Mike. Go for it.
All right. Well, I have to ask you a few things because I think it's been a banner year. We're seeing for Asian Americans and for diversity on film and television. Minari is probably one of the best films of the year. To see an actor like you get to, you've done so many great roles, so much fun. I'm curious, I've seen some other interviews. You talked about how much you love sitcoms, and that's a big part of what WandaVision is. But one of the best things about sitcoms for me as a person of color, that's comedy and sitcoms those are the first Black shows. Those are the first shows with minorities, with people of color. As a comedian, did you think you'd be able to have the kind of career you have and get the diversity of roles? Because I saw this documentary on Pat Morita, and it was fascinating,
yeah.
what he went through. And not only is he a comedian, but he had to have a sense of humor about this industry.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what your sensibility about the industry was going in, and how do you feel being where you are now?
Pat Morita, who was in Sanford and Son, by the way.
Yes, exactly.
Played Achu in Sanford and Son. When I was a kid watching these sitcoms, it didn't even really occur to me that there weren't Asians in it. I was just enjoying them, watching them, and just not thinking about that. I wasn't conscious of that really. Until I got to college, and when I got to college is when I discovered acting and writing, and that's where the seed was planted that this is what I wanted to do. But I really felt like coming from theater that I wasn't going to make a living in film and television because the opportunities just weren't there. And but it was something that I could probably do for fun. Maybe get by on it, but really I'd have to do other things on top of it. And I was happy to do that because I just loved performing and writing, and I loved comedy so much that it was kind of like this thing where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be rich. I'm not gonna be famous or any of these things, but I'm totally fine with that because I just love performing, and I had made peace with that. And even well into my acting career, it started to shift a little bit. I just wanted to be a working actor. That's all I wanted to do. Just get by. If commercials were it, I'd make a living just doing commercials, and I'd be happy doing that. And that was for a good part of my career. That was the mind state, and then things started opening up. And I credit folks like Pat Morita, folks like just everybody just doing their part in breaking ground. And next thing I knew, I was on a show. I was on a show, and I did not expect that show I did not expect that pilot to get picked up to series. I just didn't. It just was inconceivable to me. I felt like it was a gesture towards diversity. And that's all it was. That's all it was. And as we were making the show, I was like, this is good, but there's no way they're gonna pick it up. No way. There's none of us are famous on the show. None of us, we're all Asian. It just can't be done. It just can't be done in this industry. I knew enough about the industry at that point.
What did you know exactly, Randall, that you just felt that was never going to happen?
Yeah, it was because, well, number one, I'd never seen it up until that point, aside from Margaret show's All-American Girl 20 years before.
I have a date with Kyle. Kyle? You're not still seeing him. Oh, I don't like him.
You don't have to like him. He's dating me.
He's wrong for you.
I'm not gonna get into this, Mom.
Oh, good for you, Margaret. For once we can have a nice family meal without you and your mother.
Okay, why is he wrong for me?
Just hearing the stories about, how that show, the trials and tribulations of that show, it made me think, oh, I remember you know, I think I was in college watching that show, and after getting canceled, I was like, well, that was our chance. It's not going to happen again. And it didn't happen again for 20 years, you know? But I had heard, especially once I started acting, I had heard of attempts at it, shows in development. You know, they were trying to make these shows, and they would never see the light of day. And I figured that we were just another one of those, you know, even though I was like, oh man, this is really special. And we actually, you know, we barely got through. Like we were like kind of, I forgot what exactly happened, but we kind of squeezed through the cracks just to get on the air. And you know, we had a 13 episode first season, and we didn't air, what's it called, we were a mid-season show, and you know, and it's an uphill battle for a mid-season show. And so I was like, okay, this is incredible. One season, this is incredible. We'll do our one season, and then we'll be kicked out the lot. And but then somehow we just kept going. We kept going, and it was it is a testament to all the work that's been done before, but and all the work at that time to make people aware of the importance of showing traditionally underrepresented folks on TV. And you know, that fight still goes on right now, but yeah, we just came at the right place, right time, and they had the right group of people.
Listening to you, Mike, and I on this show, Brown and Black, these are the discussions we're always having, you know.
Yeah.
And to listen to you is listening, but replacing Asian with Latinos. Currently, there are no Latino shows on Broadcast Network. The last one was One Day at a Time, and that was like added to CBS, and then it was knocked out. Grand Hotel, you know, it's just, you can go on. It just doesn't exist. So imagine how we feel by not seeing ourselves represented, yet we're still 20% of the population, 60 million Hispanics live in the United States, just don't see themselves represented. Why do you think Latino stories aren't being greenlit on TV? How come no one wants to see, or no one wants to bet on Latino storytelling today?
That's a good question. I think that, man, well, here's one thing that I've learned, especially since I started this production company, and we're, you know, and our mandate in our company is to tell stories from an Asian American perspective. So we're trying to create these shows and these projects with Asian Americans in it. And one of the challenges that we have is, you know, in this industry, it's all about packaging. You know, they don't even care about, I mean, the idea is important, but what really gets a show, you know, at least even in development, let alone, you know, a pilot greenlit or whatever, is the package. What stars do you bring to that package, you know, along with that idea? What famous director do you attach, you know? And because we traditionally have not gotten the opportunities to have a number of great directors that we could bring on as an attachment, the number of stars that are quote unquote meaningful to the industry to attach, that where the, you know, the heads of these studios will be like, yes, we need that, you know, that's you know, and I found that the stars in our community, like the legends in our community, are often not, they don't even know who they are sometimes.
Wow.
And I'm like, that person's a god to us. And you don't even know who that person is, you know? And I feel that that's one element as to why I think we haven't seen a Latinx show. You know, it's because there's a history of just not giving people an opportunity to get to a level where, you know, you could attach them to a show and that's it. We need to greenlight that show, you know, like, that's one angle, but I'm sure there's a lot more. I'm sure it's complex, and but you know, opportunity begets opportunity, and when you didn't have the opportunity to begin with, how can you get to a place where you're you get more opportunity now, where you get more shows. I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd that you know, even I mean, One Day at a Time is great. When there's only one show, and a community has so many perspectives, so many, no community is a monolith. But if you look on TV, you would think it's a monolith, because it's like that one show has to represent everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the, to me, that's the challenge, that we're up against. It's when you have a history of underrepresentation or misrepresentation, it's like, it's tough to get voices heard.
History of representation is a lot of things. I've always felt that, comedy in many ways for an actor is sort of like a secret weapon. Like if you can do drama, it's great, but if you can do comedy, it's like a secret weapon. You'll be working forever. So I want to know your thoughts on that. And then a question I like to ask comedic actors, and I'd love to get your sense of it, especially ones who started with stand-up. Why do you think it's easier for a comedic actor to make the transition to doing drama, whether you're Tom Hanks or Bill Murray or whoever, and for audiences then to take you seriously? But it's not so easy for that dramatic actor to be funny, because we've all seen that dramatic actor we love try to be funny, and it doesn't work. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, and that's real interesting. I don't know, to be honest with you, but I do feel like just, especially with stand up and with comedy in general, there has to be an element of drama in it in order for the comedy to work, right? There has to be when you're setting up a joke, if you're doing an act out, you have to make it real, right? Or else the punchline doesn't hit. You know what I mean? And I think that, not all not all stand-ups or comedic people can do like real good drama, but I think a lot of them can, because it's kind of innate. It's an innate part of comedy, I think. And whereas I don't necessarily feel that dramatic acting always has to be comedic. Like comedic acting, to me, always has to be dramatic to a degree. I don't know. That's my theory, but
No, that's an interesting theory.
Yeah, that's a good thought. The thing to think about. Yeah.
Randall, so Minari has been involved in a lot of controversy. Well, not that much, but there's been enough that it's gotten the national conversation about whether Minari is an American film or a Korean film. And to me, it's a movie that to me represents the American dream of the immigrant coming into the United States and assimilating and becoming, an American. But even Lee has said, hey, listen, that was not the intentionality that I wanted to tell with this story. I didn't want to do an American dream story. So you have the director saying that this isn't an American dream story, but you have all the critics and everybody that watches it feeling like this is the American dream, and it's maybe redefined. I wanted to ask you, what do you believe today is the American dream?
Oh gosh, you guys are asking great questions and deep questions. Gosh, I mean, I think the American dream is well, it's a lot of things to a lot of different people, and I think for me, I think it's just the freedom to be yourself, to be you, to not necessarily have to fit into any kind of boxes that people try to put you in, because that's not necessarily who you are, or that's a part of you, but that's a small part of you. There's so much more.
You mentioned before about no culture is a monolith, but to most people, they really don't know the difference between Korean, Japanese, Chinese. It's just all Asian to them. But in some ways, I think For Koreans, with the exception in the last, couple of years, Parasite and people, oh, that's a Korean film. Oh, this is what they make. There isn't a specific narrative. If you live in New York, there are a lot of delis that Koreans own.
Yeah.
But other than that, you don't really know. So in a way, it's almost a clean slate. You can kind of define now as a Korean American, what it is to be Korean. What are your thoughts on that? And especially as you say you started a production company. To me, that's like taking control of the stories you want told. So, what do you think about the kind of stories you can tell, and what do you think about that whole notion that maybe most people don't really have too much idea about what they couldn't name a Korean dish if they had to.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's not a clean slate just because I grew up around Koreans, and I've seen I grew up around Koreans that are so different from one another, and to me, in my head, it's just such in and of itself, just a diverse group, But I do think that for me, in terms of the production company, like my instinct is to kind of tell truthful stories, honest stories, preferably comedic, because I just love comedy, but to represent the gamut of experiences in telling these stories, as opposed to the one that people know, like, Crazy Rich Asians comes out, becomes a hit. The next pilot season, every show about Asian people, about rich Asian people, and now you got these Bling Empire, you got the House of Hoes, you got all these reality shows about mega rich Asians, and to me, like, that's great, that's fine, but it's also not the entire story, and not only that, to me, in a way, it's rooted a little bit in the model minority myth, like, and it's kind of like, oh well, why are these people so excited to tell these stories, as opposed to like a Minari, or as opposed to like stories of that are more at least more true to my upbringing, that's what we want to do as a production company. We want to tell the not just one side of the story, but to tell stories that reflect, myself and other people and our upbringing, and but also, like, we want to create bridges with other communities and tell stories that, I mean, my upbringing was extremely diverse here in LA, and you don't see a lot of that with Asian folks. It's always like just Asian folks, which I think is great too and important. But for me, it's like my friends ran the gamut. We were like a Benetton ad.
I was actually just going to ask you about that. What is your relationship with brown and black people in your life? I know that you were a part of a gang called Illigan. Jose Ramirez. Oh, wait a minute.
These are like my best friends growing up, and it's
like
what? Like every race, like literally, like every race was in that group. But that's the part of LA I grew up in, So
and what was growing up like that like? Because not everybody gets to grow up in a multicultural environment.
Yeah, I mean, it was to
It
me.
was a sitcom. It was a sitcom.
It was a sitcom. And these friends I'm friends with today were brothers. To me it was an idyllic upbringing. Because we go to Kevin's house, have Jamaican food. And then we go to Rob's house. Have Mexican. It was like and it wasn't a thing. But we were conscious about race, and we would talk about it and joke about it, but again, it wasn't a thing in terms of like how much we loved each other, so yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of who I am, and the things that I value and the things that I love, yeah, I mean, it was a great upbringing, I mean, I shouldn't even be proud of that because that's just what it is, but I am proud of that, because you don't see that a lot,
No.
yeah, yeah.
Your character is, I've seen, I know Jack did research as well, but you didn't know the character was coming back, so it was a surprise to you. But being part of something that so many people will see, I want to know your thoughts on superhero movies, science fiction, because I feel science fiction, and that's what superhero movies are to me. Science fiction and comedy have something in common, and they both are talking about the human condition in a way that's not hitting you over the head. I think every comedian is in many ways a cultural critic. So what are your thoughts on being part of something that so many people will see, and people may embrace something, or any minority, any person of color that they might not have, especially for kids? So what are your thoughts on being part of something so big and so popular?
I mean, I love it. I mean, just as a Marvel fan, and I'm not just saying this because I'm in the projects. I'm saying this because I genuinely love the projects that come out of Marvel. It's I feel like, I mean, I don't know the business well enough to know if this is true, but I feel like Marvel seems to be the most intentional, about getting different faces on the screen, and I feel like because everyone seems to love Marvel, the movies and now the TV shows, that I think that's important. It's important for kids to see that, and some kids, they don't have the upbringing that I have, that I had. So but they'll be able to see these shows and see folks who don't look like anyone around them or themselves, and to love these characters. And I don't think that's the be all to end all, but I do think that that's an important service, for these people who may not have the same diverse surroundings that I did. I just think and also I just think it's cool. I just think it's like, it's fun, and to see the fan engagement, just fans are so into it, and
Ridiculous.
it's ridiculous.
It is
like so crazy, but these fans are so smart too. They like break down things and like have these theories, and these, I just think it's
you did that card trick with CGI. We know you did.
I did not do. I did that card trick.
Everyone's been asking
It's
you
a
about
fan
that.
theory. It's a fan theory.
Randall,
I love that. I love that.
We're almost time is almost up. So I wanted to ask you one last question. Obviously, the vaccine is almost here, which means that movie theaters might reopen again, but the streaming services looks like they're here to stay. As an actor, we might not return back. They might not be able to see their movies on the big screen exclusively. They might start seeing them at home. How do you feel about this new hybrid business between streaming and theaters? Are theaters going away? Are they going to become just luxury venues for the wealthy to go eat their foods, lie on couches? How do you see this new transformation in media and entertainment colliding together for 2021 and onward?
Well, for me personally, just, as a again working actor, I don't care, man. Just like
so you're not a purist. You're not like Quentin Tarantino and Michael Moore and Nolan. And what are you talking about? Streaming?
Hell no. I'm just like, I just want to work. That's that immigrant mentality. That
absolutely, we know that, man.
but as far as like predictions, I mean, I feel like this was all inevitable, right? I mean, this was all, it's bound to happen. I don't think theater is going to like die completely. I'm sure there's going to be movie theaters, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it will end up being, these real kind of experiences, that are highly exclusive and whatnot. But which I think, I don't know how I feel about that. That feels kind of not right to me. But I do think that watching from home it was inevitable. It was bound to happen, here to stay. It's not gonna go backwards,
Right.
Yeah. But again, I don't care either way.
Big Randall, little Randall, it doesn't matter.
All right, Mike, I leave the last word with you, my friend.
Well, the last word, I guess I have to say, I think it says a lot about your career and your talent that you're not just in one universe, but you're in two universes. Only a handful of actors are in both universes.
DC
Hey, I'm
and
not
Marvel? Come
DC
on,
and Marvel,
Randall.
that's pretty big.
What?
He's so humble about it. Yeah, no, it's great. I love it.
I'm not a superhero in each one.
But you're in them.
But you could be. You could be. Who knows?
Who knows?
Next up,
Who knows?
Star Wars.
Who knows? Right.
Card
Right.
trick man.
That's who I am.
Those cards, right?
Gambit, yeah.
Gambit, exactly.
Well, Randall, thank you so much for being on the Brown and Black podcast. We appreciate your time,
Yes.
and we're fans, man. We're watching everything you're doing, and thank you so much for giving us some time and giving us some candid answers on your part. And we just wish you the best, man. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
It was a pleasure talking to you guys, and I'm gonna invite myself back one day.
All right.
Say, would love to have you come back. Love it.
That would be awesome, man, and we'd appreciate that. All right, man.
I'd love it. It was a joy talking to you guys.
You too.
All right,
Thanks,
Randall.
man.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Take
guys.
it easy, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.